I'm Nolan Nolm, online fitness professional and performance specialist, and the founder of Make It Happen Coaching, which is for individuals who want to absolutely optimize their performance in every area of your life. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how we've used our method of metabolic priming and data-driven systems to help over 50 men lose 20, 30, and even sometimes 40 to 60 pounds while eating more food than when they started, and not just lose weight, but actually get lean and shredded while eating more food, doing less cardio, and then actually having the peak energy that they could to dominate life with their families and in their work and maximize their income. But here's what makes this different than anything else. I'm not just going to tell you how our system works. I'm going to show you using real science, the systems that we use, data, and the exact process that we walk every client through. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand more about your body, your performance, your metabolism than 95% of doctors, trainers, and other coaches that are out there. You're going to know exactly why you've been stuck. And this is for people who have tried everything else, keto, crazy crash diets, endless hours of cardio, other personal trainers, carnivore, you name it. This is for the person that's stuck, who has the discipline, the work ethic, but can't figure it out, and why all the things that you tried don't work. So if this sounds like you, listen up. I'm going to show you exactly how we do our method and how we're going to get you the best results in your life. Okay, so this is where you're currently at. You're probably doing cardio 4 to 5 times a week, right? You're eating 2,000 calories or lower. You're following the rules, right? But you're still not losing the fat or the weight that you want. You don't have any performance optimization, any systems around blood testing, supplements, this, that. You don't really know what to do, okay? And what's going to actually get you the results. You've done a bunch of other things, right? Like, this is the cycle that you live in. You start a new diet, a new plan full of motivation. You cut your calories, you start eating chicken, broccoli, start cardio. Week 1 to 2, you lose some pounds, you feel optimistic, and then the plateau hits. Nothing moves. So you panic and you do more cardio and less food. In week 5 plus, your energy crashes, motivation drops, and you get it all back again. Okay? If this sounds like you, this is exactly for you. You're trapped in this vicious cycle, pretty similar to where Jared was at, a business owner of a creative consulting company. Right, he was not happy with where his fitness was, where his health was. He didn't have systems, and he lost 40 pounds, saying that he wished he would have started this 10 years ago. And his scale was not calibrated, as you guys can see here. 2 sizes smaller, able to get to a place where he can work out with his kids, his 2 sons. He's feeling incredible. Or you might be like Ryan, owner of physical therapy clinics. He's eating 1,700 calories a day, exhausted by 2 p.m. Didn't have a plan what to eat, wasn't on track, and didn't have systems that he had with his business, which was getting incredible results with his body, which is the main vehicle of what he's doing. Or like Parker or Brett, both driven men, individuals that had it dialed together in other areas of their life with their significant others, but didn't know what to do. And they're both down over 20 pounds, 6-pack, shredded, completely changed their life. Or like Austin, a financial advisor who was fatigued, had extremely high cortisol, and felt stuck with where he was at. Super happy with how he looks. And like I said, like he just didn't know what he was doing, and he was going against his metabolism. Or like Trey, who was or you're like Trey, who's an insurance sales manager. He was doing cardio for days. Work ethic was not Trey's issue. He was grinding, he was cutting carbs, but he was stuck in this cycle where he was fighting against his biology. Or you're like Gabe, manager of a sports retail business. He thought cardio equaled results, but he wasn't even lean. He didn't have a 6-pack. We got him shredded and giving him the systems, like I say, to perform at his best. Here's one of my favorites. Derek was in a rhythm that wasn't working for him. We found the right macros. We found the right systems for him. We used his metabolism, and look he's down 60 pounds. He's gained serious muscle mass, and he's in a completely different spot where he's in control of his health. You might be wondering who I am. This is me and my story. I started 160 pounds, 16% body fat, and got to 201.7, 3.3% body fat. Okay, here's some other things I did. It doesn't really matter. I just want to show you that I've lived it. So other people talk about it. I've lived it. 335 power clean, bench 335, ass-to-grass 435, back squat, speed, all this sort of stuff. I was a D1 football captain. Completely changed who I was, from someone who was insecure, didn't know what to do, didn't have the systems, was fighting against this biology, to someone who understands their metabolism and understands how to work with their biology. I've dove into different biomarkers and things that we do with the people that we work with, things that like function health. You guys can see here we got biological age from a couple different areas, our whoop, and different ways that we integrate these data-driven systems to maximize, not only get you shredded, but allow you to perform at your best and maximize your income. So here's where you're at, and here's why you're stuck. Here's the real cost of what you're doing with all these crash diets and not actually working with your DNA, your biology. And that's what we do. We find out what actually is going to work for you, not just guessing, not just following the next IG reel. This is the truth behind how you burn calories, okay? So we have what a lot of us think are exercise activity, lifting, cardio, planned exercise. This is where you spend most of your time. I'm already knowing this is where you spend most of your time. You think that getting more steps, running more, doing more zone 2, more zone 3 cardio is going to get you the results that you want, but that's 5 to 10% of how you burn your calories. When we look at the thermic effect of food, this is what it takes for your body to digest certain macronutrients, right? So that's 10 to 15% of what we do. Then we have our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is just our everyday activity, okay? Our walking, our talking, our fidgeting, other activities. This is where the money is made, and this is where we utilize science in how your body actually works. Your BMR, or resting metabolic rate, is how many calories you burn at rest. Blood flow, thinking, organ function, sleep, thinking, breathing. This is the 20% that get 80% of the results. All this other stuff is great and dandy. We utilize those too. Not like we utilize this. And this is where most coaches and most programs go the exact wrong way. And this is probably why you're here. Our clients focus on BMR, NEAT, and the thermic effect of food. When we get those together, then exercise activity is just icing on the cake. And a lot of people don't even do cardio and get incredible results. Here is the key, and what we utilize is metabolic adaptation. This is what happens when you go into a crazy diet or starvation mode. So you see different ways that our metabolic adaptation and the way that we burn calories, our BMR at rest, goes down. We got a couple different ones. Aging, muscle loss, and we'll get to that in a little bit. We're not focused on burning fat, we're focused on building muscle, which is then going to allow us to burn fat. The biggest thing that we can look at is weight loss and dieting, right? So when we look at this, what happens is extreme dieting kills our total daily energy expenditure. What I just showed you, the graph up there. Because when we reduce calories, our body looks to protect ourselves and go into starvation mode. Our body fights and holds on to fat. This is why you're not losing fat or weight. We plateau and no weight loss because your body panics. Your BMR crashes, right? We saw up there, it was 60 to 70%, more like 20% of how you're burning calories then comes from the BMR. So now you're stuck in this cycle where then you do more cardio, more cutting calories, and you're just destroying the thing that's actually going to allow you to burn that fat. When we look at a study from the Biggest Loser contestants, we see that when these individuals did these crash diets and lost a ton of weight, that their metabolism dropped an incredible amount and was suppressed for months, if not years. This is 6 years later, and their metabolism is way, way down, okay? Why you're here and why it's dropping like that is because when you do this, you get higher levels of cortisol, you have systematic inflammation, and then you get bloated, right? When we do these carnivore diets or keto diets, our BMR drops, crashes. When we do extreme calorie restrictions for longer than necessary, our BMR lowers and is suppressed. We get caught in eating 1,500 calories, being plateaued and tired by 1 p.m. And then you're so focused on fat loss as opposed to muscle gain, where these two individuals are the same level of body fat. The difference is this one has much more muscle. So when you diet, you lose muscle. And when we look at what it actually takes to maintain muscle compared to fat, we've got 2 calories for 1 pound of fat and 8 calories for 1 pound of muscle. So now we're in starvation mode. We don't have the muscle. So now it's so much harder to burn these calories that we're just fighting against this natural machine, our natural biology. People with more muscle have a much higher BMR. And so when we look at the BMR, right? Once again, we're back to why this declines, aging and muscle loss. And a lot of that has to do with we're not feeding our bodies and allowing that muscle to either maintain or gain. And then not only that, you're fighting against your literal biology. You've never done a DNA test. You've never done a blood test that's linked to what you should be eating. You've never done a digestive test to see what's going on with how you're digesting food. So you can't see what your superfoods are and those things that you should be eating to maximize your energy and vitality. So when we look at metabolic priming, what is this? This is where we use carbohydrates as the way to manipulate and restore your metabolic flexibility. We're going to improve your insulin sensitivity and then upregulate energy expenditure. Rather than restricting carbs, we're going to use this to replenish the glycogen, regulate hormones, and allow us to create a whole new baseline, which you'll be in a deficit at a higher calorie rate. So I'm going to explain this to you guys step by step here. So our carbs set our hormone environment. So when we eat carbs, our blood glucose rises. And then we're able to release that as insulin, right? And store some as glycogen. This shows our body that energy is available. And then it generally reduces fat in that moment, right? Because what it's doing is it's signaling to our body we're getting out of starvation mode, out of survival mode. We don't need that fat to survive anymore because we have the carbs. Then we are able to use that muscle glycogen to have better workouts, to gain more muscle. I'm not going to go into all this, but what happens is it goes into muscle glycogen and it's not stored as fat, right? So we're able to use this and insulin sensitivity increases again. With more carbs, what we do is your NEAT actually increases. This is where we use the other piece of the pie, right? Your subconscious movement starts to naturally increase the more that you eat this food. You fidget more, you move around more, your sleep quality is better, your mood's better, your output is much better. You're not dead tired and feel like doing nothing. You're able to move around and have high energy, which increases this NEAT. When we eat more carbs, what we're going to do is we're going to reverse these horrible things that can happen when you get into a drastic cut. So our leptin is going to go up. So we're going to be less hungry and have higher energy output. Our T3 thyroid hormone will drift down if we're constantly cutting calories like this and if we don't do a cut the right way. And so that's how we show you guys how to do that. The T3 thyroid hormone will go up and metabolism will not feel slower, it'll feel faster. And then your cortisol will go way down, which will allow you to release the weight and use your hormones, use your DNA the way it's supposed to. The carbs are going to improve this training quality, right? Which therefore we talked about is going to improve composition of your body. And then the priming, the metabolic priming that we're talking about is we're going to raise the carbs in a structured way to restore your output. So then we can cut at a way higher calorie amount, like I said. And then when we go back into maintaining, we have created a new baseline with the body officially, right? So a lot of the people we saw in the Biggest Loser studies, they gain all the weight back that they lost. So when you do these crazy cuts, high cortisol, all this, maybe you get down, you look lean, and then you gain it all back and you're wondering, how do I stay shredded year round? Metabolic priming is the way. Let's dive a little bit more into how exactly this works with the metabolic priming and the data that we use to allow you to be at your best. So how do the carbs truly increase this NEAT? Look at this, right? They supply the energy that allows for NEAT to exist. So when they're too low, the body, you're going to protect these basal functions. It's subconsciously going to be downregulated. So movement becomes optional and gets cut out. I'm not talking about cardio, any of these things. I'm talking about you moving around throughout the day, how you interact with others. Think about that high energy individual and how they operate compared to when you're tired and drained and exhausted. Like I said, the carbs will stabilize your blood glucose, right? They're going to calm your nervous system, which then is going to reduce cortisol output. And if you're familiar with the two different states of your nervous system, we've got sympathetic, fight or flight, and then parasympathetic dominance, which is rest and digest. Rest and digest. So what's going to happen is we're going to be able to digest our food better. We're going to be able to relax when you're in that starvation mode. Eating and digestion is so nervous system dependent. This is going to allow us to have better recovery. And then we're going to have lower perceived distress. We're not going to be as bloated as much. We're not going to have digestive issues. If that's you, it's because you're in a very stressed state. Carbs are also going to influence our serotonin. So that serotonin equals mood, sleep, appetite, control. So what's going to happen? We're going to have a better mood. We're going to have better sleep quality. And we're going to have a way more regulated appetite. All that impulsive eating that happens when you restrict yourself, no matter how disciplined you are, and all that's weighing on you, that takes a lot of energy from your mental. And it takes away from the father that you can be and the business owner or business person that you show up as. Then once we do that, the cortisol reduction is going to lower inflammation and water retention. So we're going to prime with the carbs. We're going to have improved glucose regulation, right? Reduce inflammatory signaling, and then less water masking fat loss, right? What a lot of people see is not true fat loss with those other diets that they do. Like I said, this is the key from this video, okay? And how we use the T3 hormone, the key hormone, and what that's going to do with the carbs. It's going to metabolically activate that thyroid hormone, which is huge for regulating our metabolic rate, which is 60% to 70% of how we burn the calories, body temperature, energy, all that. So remember what I said, when you restrict these carbs, you're reducing the insulin signaling. Less T4 converted to T3. And what we want to do is to convert that T4 to T3. This is the very nitty gritty. I told you guys I was going to show you this. This is the key behind why our metabolism slows and why you're stuck. And then when we look how we use the thermic effect of food, I want you to see this right here. Protein, the thermic effect is 30%. Carbs, 10%. Fat, 3%. So we're going to make sure that your macronutrients are tailored to your biology, that you've got enough protein in there, and carbs, right? We see the thermic effect of both of them is a lot more, which means the energy that it takes, the calories it burns to digest that food. This is how we get results like this, because what we do is Austin's deficit maybe was at 1500 before. When we slowly raise these carbs in the right fashion, in a strategic, data-driven fashion, by looking at your biology and where certain markers are at, we're able to raise them. And then he's able to cut over 2,000 calories and get this shredded over 2,000 calories. Some of the people that we work with, it's over 2,500 calories you're cutting and getting this shredded. So what we do is we use macronutrients catered to your biology, your body weight, your DNA, your blood, your digestive issues. We figure all those out and we figure the right macronutrients to allow that to happen. What this does is, like I said, it reduces the stress, it improves digestion, we reduce that systematic inflammation, we reduce cortisol, and we improve energy. What this does, if we look at these graphs, okay, so we raise our calories slowly but surely, strategically, with the correct feedback, the biofeedback that we get each week. And what this does is it raises our TDEE, okay, which is our BMR, right? And that's how we burn the calories. So we slowly raise that up, we're in a good spot. What happens then is we have a higher calorie level that we can go into a deficit from. It becomes much more sustainable, and then we actually get predictable fat loss as we do this, right? So as the weeks go on, our fat mass actually changes consistently, and then we create a whole new baseline. This is what we do. We prime, we go into a fat loss phase, then we maintain and make sure that we sustain that, and then we repeat. So you can see it's very, very simple, very, very simple. Our metabolic health always stays up so that we're not just stuck going down with the fat loss. We're able to, okay, we know we've primed correctly. We go down, boom, we get into a maintain phase to recreate our new baseline, and our metabolic health is still high, and we can go into another fat loss phase again and continue to create new baseline after baseline without sacrificing our health, performance, and how we show up. In summary, I want you guys to look at this little diagram here. This is how most people approach fat loss. Consistent cuts, massive cuts that leave you in a really tough spot. And when you go to reset, maybe then you gain all this weight and it's all fat because your body's just trying to survive. It's just taking this fat in. Whereas the new way, right? We reset our metabolism by priming it with carbs. Boom, we go into a cut, we maintain, boom, we prime again. And now this whole time we are staying shredded because we've created this new breakthrough. This is how we stay lean all year round. Not only that, but we're able to therefore look at your DNA and see, okay, what is your superfood? What can we enjoy? What do we need to minimize to make sure that everything that you're doing is moving with leverage, right? With your biology and not against it. We're able to see through your actual biomarkers, your blood work, what are the supplements that you need to take? Not anybody else, not the general stuff. What actually do you need to take for your biology to maximize your output and income? What foods are we going to stay away from, and what foods are we going to continually to pump into our meal plan and make sure that we're eating those things consistently to make sure that we're maximizing our output as well. And then what other systems like sleep, like recovery, are we going to implement that have the most buyback of your time, that are going to get you performing at your best? Without your health, you have nothing. And your health is your secret weapon to maximizing how you show up as an individual and for your family, for the people around you, and as a leader. And as a former D1 captain and soon to be pro football player, I'm going to show you exactly how I use these systems so that you can be the business athlete that everybody around you deserves. Who this is for the individual that actually wants to change, that's willing to invest in themselves, that's dedicated to being the best that they can be, that acts decisively and takes action on anything that's given to them. You know who you are. Who this is not for. This is not for somebody who is lazy, lacks ambition, is not going to follow through on their word, sticks with something for a couple of weeks and then falls off, doesn't do what it takes, even if it's hard, is not committed to change, is not committed to being the best that they can be. If this sounds intimidating to you, to going all in on your health and your performance and getting the best out of who you are, this is not for you at all. I'm going to show you guys a video of a couple of testimonies here of what people have said the program is like.
I just wanted to hop on this morning and give some love to my guy, Nolan. I tell you what, Nolan is a stud. He's a D1 football player, NFL prospect, does everything the right way, just the kind of person that you want to surround yourself with. I've been working with Nolan for 2 months, just doing his weightlifting program, his meal planning, and just kind of tells me really what to shop for at the store, keeps me accountable, and I've gotten more shredded than I've ever been. Now, put in perspective, my hesitancy was, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I know how to work out. I know how to get hypertrophy. I wrestled through college, so I know how to cut weight. So why would I start with Nolan? I would start with Nolan because he gave me stuff that I haven't done before, gave me a meal plan that's more sustainable than me just cutting weight. And he held me accountable and gave me benchmarks. And so, like I said, I've got great results. A ton of people are getting shredded. If you want to get in great shape this summer, you have to tap the link and talk to me.
I couldn't be more fired up about the results. I feel phenomenal. Like I just feel, for me, 15 years younger. I've got loads of energy. I can't believe how well my body has responded to just good sleep, water, the right type of fuel in terms of food source. And I couldn't be happier. I'm so stoked. Thank you, Nolan, for doing this for me. You know that I appreciate it greatly. But I just wasn't happy with who I was seeing each morning. I didn't recognize him anymore. I knew that it was just time to make a change. The struggles at the beginning, just an embarrassment of how hard it was to go back to the gym, of the body that I was having to take to the gym, general discouragement that I hadn't made better choices. But again, I own it. They were my choices. What would I say to anybody who's thinking about doing this and maybe has hesitations? I would say just make the choice in your mind. I'm about to go do this. I'm totally capable of doing it, and now it's go time.
So this is where you are. You got two options here, okay? Option one, you can keep doing what you're doing. You can teach your kids that settling is okay. I'm not going to go over every one of these, but you know who you are, right? You can keep doing these fad diets, these restrictions, and destroy your metabolism, destroy your hormones, not do the once-in-a-lifetime test that's going to give you the superfoods. It's going to show you what works with your DNA. You're not going to get these simple systems for recovery, for performance. Like I said, for using your metabolism, that's going to make everything easier for the rest of your life. You're going to do never-ending cardio. You're going to overtrain. You're going to burn out, right? You're going to keep guessing with your macro split. You're not even going to track your food. First step is to track your food. Or you're going to track it, and you're just going to keep cutting. And you're going to let those down to you. Let those down that are closest to you, right? Like, you're going to live in your excuses forever. If we look 5 years from now, you're going to be in worse shape. You're going to have less energy. You're going to have more health problems. As opposed to, here's what you could do. You could rebuild your metabolism through metabolic priming. Invest in yourself and a long-term solution for your health and body. Not just another quick fix where someone just tells you everything to do. Somebody that tells you and teaches you the thought process, the principles behind it, right? Be the man your kids brag about. We talk about impacting your family tree through your fitness. You are the leader in your life. The more you make these changes, the more you understand them, you can pass them down to your family and your kids. This changes people's lives forever. You can compress the decades into days with the high level nutrition tactics I'm going to show you. Train less, eat more, and see results in weeks, not years. Right? Like, regain your balance with your hormones and create a life-altering identity where you're never the same after. And then if you're in a relationship or you're not in a relationship, this will amplify how you show up, the systems that you have. Like I said, the discipline isn't the issue, but you not being in your dream body is affecting how you show up with your confidence and how you project onto others. And you know that. So 5 years from now, opposed to where we were at before, you can have sustained results and be in the best shape of your life and be around for your kids as long as you want to. So if this is you and you're ready to understand that the decisions that you make in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, even if it's you in your 20s, they're setting the foundation for the rest of your life, then go click the link below to my Instagram and shoot me a DM on Instagram. We can have a chat and see if you're a fit. This is only for the individuals that are truly ready to make a change. You need to be serious. I'm only going to take on a couple of people heading into the new year. So it's got to be some people that are really committed to what their goals are for the new year. And if this sounds like what you want to do and not, stop guessing and go with the best, go with the proven method that's highly specific for you, for where you're at, then shoot me a DM and we can have a chat. This is for the men that understand that their body and the health is the foundation for everything they do in life. I'll show you how to finally get that body you want through science-backed, data-driven methods. No more guessing. I'll show you how to become the business athlete you deserve to be. You've seen the results. You've heard the testimonials. You have all the resources to be elite. So stop settling for average, because your wife is watching, your kids are watching, your future family's watching, and most importantly, you're watching. So, are you going to take action? That's a question for you to answer.